And it's 4 o'clock. So let's roll into the news. You've got me this week, and I'm here with Dan. We're going to be here for both sections of the show. We're about to run through some news. Then Adam and Emma are going to play some Genesis Noir. And then me and Dan will be back to talk about niche communities with games. Adam's not here live. It's his birthday today, so he's taken maybe a well-deserved day off. Debatable, but happy birthday, Adam. I'm sure you'll be watching, waiting for us to slip up on the production. But let's roll with some news. So we talk about things like this a lot. I don't think it's going away. It happens all the time, seems more and more every week. But there's been another, not an acquisition, but an investment this week, which is close to our hearts. Our friends at Supermassive Games have had Nordisk Games come in, and they've acquired a 30% stake in Supermassive Games. Nordisk Games already own Avalanche Studios. They've got 40% of Mercury Steam, and they already own and have minor stakes in a number of games businesses. And their whole ethos is they want to be minority holders, large minority holders in game studios, helping with the funding and challenging game studios to get better, but trusting the companies that they invest in to drive the ship and not come in and take over. So great for Nordisk Games to have such a great studio added to their portfolio, and great news for Supermassive Games to get that investment from Nordisk as well. So congratulations to everyone involved in that. I'm sure there'll be some exciting things coming out of Supermassive Games, I would imagine, following this.
Absolutely.
Next is CD Projekt Red. So typically not great news with CD Projekt Red, but this is pretty good news, to be fair. So this week, I believe they unveiled their largest patch to Cyberpunk 2077. And I don't know if you've seen the patch notes, Dan, but honestly, it's insane. I couldn't even count the bullet points. Someone's estimated that there's like about 8,000 words in there, which is about 10% of a Harry Potter book. So it's long. There is a lot going on in there. Too much to summarize. We'd be here for about 3 hours if I just read out everything that was in there. But it's things like fixes for car handling, police reaction times, NPC behavior, a whole bunch of stuff. It's patch 1.2 that's out there to go check out now. But that's great news. But it does highlight, I guess, how much needed fixing in the game. But great that they're doing that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that kind of shows that first stage of that commitment to seeing this game through, making sure it becomes, delivers on what everybody's expectations were. So yeah, well done to them for sticking with it. And it's a shame they couldn't get that all in there for the launch, but it seems to be the modern way.
It does, and I read, or I thought I read, maybe I caught it just out of the corner of my eye, that it sounds like it's going to be, they're hoping it's going to be ready to go back into the PlayStation Store for sale very soon, because if you remember, it got taken out of the store because it was deemed not fit for sale. But it seems like it's getting close, so that's great news for them, and yeah, good on them for sticking with it and righting the wrongs, which we knew they would. They weren't just going to leave it. So hats off to them. Sticking with CD Projekt Red, they've also announced this week that they're going to change their way of working, and what they're going to move to now is kind of a parallel development working style. They've called the initiative Red 2.0. And essentially what they want to do is to be able to work on multiple large AAA titles and updates in one go. I think it was a 6-year gap between The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077. So they're moving away from being like, right, we're putting all our effort onto this game, finished, we're moving on to the next game. They want to work on games in parallel, which sounds good. Obviously, that would be great for them. They can get more titles out. They were talking about having shorter marketing running campaigns from announced to launch, which obviously we know Cyberpunk had a huge runway of time before it's announced, which probably made the problems at launch even worse, that people have been waiting for so long. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because you kind of think, well, they spent 6 years working on Cyberpunk 2077 and it had all those problems when it came out. How are they going to manage doing two at the same time? But what they have done and what they are planning on doing is bringing in more people. So they have already acquired Digital Skips, which is about 12 developers to help kind of get this Red 2.0 off and running. And they had already worked with them on Cyberpunk 2077, but they've been brought into the CD Projekt Red family to help split the workload.
Yeah, it does make sense, both kind of operationally and commercially. You not only are you reducing those time spans between releases and fanfare that you can create. You're also mitigating risk. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket. So it does make sense that you can have parallel development. Makes a lot of sense, because if you do have a launch that doesn't go quite to plan, you've not got 6 years of risk built up depending on that single launch, so you can get to your next one, and you can also learn faster as well. I'm sure they've learned a heck of a lot in recent times, and why not try and make use of those learnings sooner on a separate development stream. So it does make a lot of sense strategically, I'd say.
Yep, so it'd be cool to see what's coming out of CD Projekt Red next. There's a new update for Call of Duty Warzone, and it is about 58 gigabytes to download. Now, I think we talked about it on the show. It was either in a roundup or it was in the show a few weeks ago that they'd come under fire a little bit, no pun intended, because you couldn't fit the Call of Duty suite onto a PS4 anymore. Like it was just too big. It couldn't fit on the hard drive. So although 58 gigabytes sounds like a large download for an update, I don't know how this works, but once you've downloaded it, it then reduces in size by about 10 gigabytes. So that's great news. It's still very big. It's still a very big update, but it's good to see that there's obviously steps being put in place to try and counter the issues of the ever-growing size of updates. And obviously, this space is getting bigger, but there's only so much space that they can have. So it's good to see that they're obviously taking steps to address the issues that people are raising with the size of those updates.
Yeah, it's another kind of, I guess, modern challenge is they've obviously optimized a lot of their processes and assets for this update, and they're going to be replacing the less optimized ones. But when in your development pipeline do you prioritize optimization? And it seems like a healthy thing to put in as a post-launch update is improved file sizes, and actually your ramp up to launch focus on core gameplay, making sure the actual game works, optimizations coming later. It's ideally it would be there at launch, but it's no bad thing to come shortly after. Yep,
definitely. Congratulations are in order for Sega. They have been named Metacritic's Publisher of the Year. Metacritic's ranking is calculated based on 4 factors, which is their average Metascore, the percentage of scored products with good reviews, percentage of scored products with bad reviews, and the number of great titles, and that's anything with a Metascore of 90 or higher. Sega did well thanks to Persona 5 Royal and Yakuza 0. Congratulations to them. They were followed by Annapurna Interactive and Capcom, and also in the top 10 was like Sony, Activision Blizzard, Microsoft, Nintendo, No More Robots, Devolver. So congratulations to them.
That's very. I think Metacritic is one of those sites that it's always like that doesn't mean much. Don't listen to it. But actually, I think Metacritic is probably the one that a lot of people in the industry, they do always keep an eye on their Metacritic score, because it is kind of the aggregation of the market. So well done to those.
It is. And are you a fan of the Ninja Guide? I got this wrong. Other time I spoke about it, Ninja Gaiden. I was going to say it right. I should have just committed. I should have had the confidence. Ninja Gaiden. Are you a fan of the game series?
Very originally, I did, but I've not paid it much attention in recent years.
Okay, so you're probably going to fall into the fans that we're going to talk about here. So the series, or some of the games in the series, are coming to modern consoles and PC this summer, and the games that are coming are Sigma 2, and Razor's Edge. And fans have been quite vocal about the fact that they're not their favorite titles. Fans actually prefer the older titles. But interestingly, an issue that they have is they've lost data. So they're not going to be able to bring the older titles forward because due to this data loss. So Black is one of the titles which people are really clamoring for to play on the modern consoles and PC. But it seems like it's not going to come. So that's disappointing. But if you are a fan of the series, those games are coming to PC and consoles later this year. But maybe not the ones you necessarily want. But hey, it's still coming. So
another I guess trait of we've talked a lot about kind of the growing up of the games industry. We're still a relatively young industry, and there's still things like appropriate version control and file backups and things like that. It wasn't that long ago that people were just making their first game, figuring it all out, and now they've gone through this meteoric success and rise. And there are some of this legacy perhaps less best practice, should we say, is probably quite rife across the industry. And yeah, times like this, that gets surfaced. Yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah, and finally, news which caught my attention because I am a golf fan. So EA have just announced a new deal with the PGA Tour to create golf titles. Historically, it's been EA who have been the go-to publisher for PGA Tour games. They ran Tiger Woods PGA Tour for, I think, 14 years until he had his downfall with his private life coming into the public. And then the last game that they did was 2015, which was with Rory McIlroy. Now, this doesn't seem like it would be huge news, but the reason why it is so interesting is it was maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago that 2K announced an exclusive deal with Tiger Woods to create PGA Tour games. So in quick succession, 2 big announcements for golf fans and golf gaming fans have come out, and it's going to be an interesting dynamic that there's going to be 2 games coming out. None have release dates yet, but coming out competing with each other. And it was Tiger Woods, who was a lifelong EA Sports in their camp and now has moved across to 2K. And following that announcement, EA are now going, okay, well, we're making PGA Tour games as well. So it's going to be fun to see how they measure up against each other. I'm not sure which side I would fall on because I was always a Tiger Woods PGA Tour fan. And as soon as his name came off it, I kind of lost interest. I wasn't into it anymore. So when the 2K announcement came out, I was like, oh, cool. PGA Tour game I'm interested in again. And now EA are coming back against it. So
you're going to be spoiled for choice.
I am. I'm not sure which way I'm going to.
Perhaps we can do we'll get you on a Let's Play and you can play them both and we can get your opinions on which you think is the best. And I've no doubt it will be based on whichever one you do better at.
Of course.
But yeah, that'd be fun.
That sounds like a fun idea. We definitely should do that because I am the number one authority on all things golf gaming.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And finally, Dan, you just wanted to talk about a charity in the US who've been doing some great stuff, raising quite a lot of money, I understand.
Yes. So, US charity Gamers for Giving. That's for giving, not forgiving. And they've just concluded their Gamers for Giving 2021 event, and they've raised best part of $1 million to help make play available for kids in hospitals. So there's been a huge kind of collaborative effort from streamers, content creators, game studios, all helping to raise this huge sum that will be used to bring games consoles and portable units and things like that to young kids who are in hospital with long-term illnesses and things like this. So I just thought that was a real nice initiative and a really great outcome. So well done to those folks.
That's awesome. A lot of money raised for that. Really, really great cause. Thanks for that, Dan. And now we're going to throw to the pre-recorded segment, which is the birthday boy, Adam Burt, and he's brought Emma along with him. They're going to check out some Genesis Noir, so enjoy that. Stick with us. Me and Dan will be back just after that video to talk about niche communities within games. See you soon.
Hello and welcome to another Etch Play video. My name is Adam Burt and I'm joined today by Emma Budd. Say hello, Emma.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me. We are checking out Genesis Noir, and this is Genesis Noir for the Xbox Series X here. And straight away you'll see it's quite a visually striking game. It's quite a weird game. It's a bit unusual, maybe not to everyone's tastes. But we're going to get into it a little bit. It's kind of like a point-and-click adventure, puzzle game, a bit kind of musical. You get like kind of jazz notes in there quite a lot. And you play as this cosmic entity called No Man, and this takes place kind of before the Big Bang, basically. So you seem to have some sort of control over time, and you are obsessed with somebody called Miss Mass, who is a local singer. And here's the game. So first of all, I'm just kind of exploring my apartment and knocking everything over. I've got a poster here I can look at in a second, actually, if it'll let me, which is of Miss Mass, the love interest that I am apparently obsessed with in the game. There we go. There she is with her big hair. And like the name implies, it's a noir story, so it's a detective story. But yeah, about these kind of, I guess, cosmic beings before the creation of the universe. Emma, you've seen some videos of this game, right?
Yeah, it looks really cool. It's only just come out, hasn't it? I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I've
Yes.
uh, I've had a little look at kind of their website and a few videos of it being played, and it just the visual style looks amazing.
Yeah, it has a
It
really strong
reminds
aesthetic.
it reminds me a bit of the new Disney Pixar film Soul.
Oh yeah,
That
it's got that
kind
kind
of
of
style, and I guess
yeah,
the jazz music,
yeah, definitely.
pretty cool.
So I'm like a watch salesman, and like I say, I seem to have some sort of time-based powers. I'm not sure if maybe my character is the concept of time. It gets a bit deep and metaphysical at times. But I think at the minute all I need to do is figure out how to make the story move forward. The game is fairly obtuse, doesn't really tell you what it wants you to do at any point. I find you just kind of click around, you kind of explore the options, and then you find cool things to do. Here it's giving me a little hint, it's saying I should be using the phone, so let's have a look at the phone. And I did find a phone number in the bin, so I think we'll be able to give that a ring. And yeah,
Just got to kind of click around and explore.
yeah, we'll see some
right?
other kind of stuff as well. So it changes quite a lot in between scenes. There's a lot of like unique bits, but a lot of it is about exploring with the cursor, clicking on things, figuring out what they do. There are some bits where you have to walk around a bit more in like a 3D space, which we'll get to probably at the end of this video. Let me just finish dialing this number. I can't remember the full number. 6650. And obviously you can see my world is being shattered around me as I dial this number.
And you're playing it on Xbox?
Yes, so it's
Game
available on
Pass.
PC as well
Really
and
cool.
on Switch. No phone version, I don't think, which is strange because I don't think it would suit a phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the Game Pass version on the Xbox Series X. And what's happening here is that I've just got through to my love interest on the phone, and it sounds like she's in trouble, so
Off you go.
off I go.
To rescue.
And we talk about a lot
I
at
think
Play about how difficult it is to try and stand out in like the crowded field of games nowadays, and I think having such a strong brand aesthetic does help.
Also, the price point for it on Switch was, I think, around about £10. So that combined with being on Game Pass, where people can, obviously, if they've got the subscription, play it without charge, I think surely really helps. Obviously, you've still got to stand out and actually get people to play, but at those kind of price points, hopefully it makes it quite accessible to people.
Yeah. So this is the
What's going on here?
This is the front door of Miss Mass's apartment. So we're gonna knock on the door, and there's no answer. And it sounds like, I don't know if you can hear that. It sounds like there's a bit of a struggle inside. See if I can. I can't take the hinges off. I can knock, and I think I just have to jam this handle open.
Nice. Break it on down.
So here's where the game gets really metaphysical and existential. That gunshot that was just fired at Miss Mass is the Big Bang, as in the Big Bang that created the universe. And we get this little intro sequence. And what you're really doing in the game is you're kind of jumping around fragments of the Big Bang as the universe is formed, trying to unravel the mystery of why somebody has basically shot this woman that you're in love with, or attempted to. You'll see, actually what's going to happen first here is the fact that I have control over time is going to come in quite handy, because otherwise she would be a goner. And you get these kind of, I can see how you could compare it to like Pixar's Soul. It's like very strange, abstract scenes at times, like some of the kind of otherworld stuff in that.
Yeah, it's really cool. Just the artwork is just amazing.
Yeah.
I love the style of it, which is great fun. It's very different to a lot of games I traditionally like to play. So it'd be good fun to kind of get lost in this world and kind of good escapism, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And even though it's a bit obtuse, I mean, it's not really difficult. Like, you just have to keep looking around till you find out what to do.
Yeah, I think if you're quite a curious gamer, then probably suits you. I'm someone like that who just needs to click on everything if I'm playing this kind of game.
So one of my powers is that when I get drunk, I basically stop time, which is what I'm apparently
that's amazing.
doing here. So you see what we end up with here is we're kind of at the moment of the Big Bang. You know, the shot's been fired, but it's still travelling through the air. And this is kind of the main structure for the game, which is you want to stop that from happening. Basically, you want to stop the bullet from reaching its destination. And I'll show you how you do that in a second. We'll go into a little bit of the first one. Oh, that's not what I was supposed to do. You need to touch this thing up here first.
Right.
Shell casing from a Big Bang, and it gives you this clue to go on, which is this spiral shape that crops up a lot in the early puzzles, at least. So that's our first clue. We're going to carry that spiral with us, and we're just going to jump into the Big Bang, because why not? A lot of the levels are quite different to each other. Like, there's a lot of unique mechanics, which I'm enjoying. There's a lot of time-based stuff, so things where you, like, you know, plant a seed and then wind time forward so that a tree grows, and that kind of thing.
Cool.
And a lot of things to do with music as well. Like, you're probably picking up the jazz soundtrack. There's lots of things where the stuff that you're doing is in time to the music. And you get these little interstitial kind of cards as well, where they kind of explain the Big Bang to you. Learn a bit of science while you're in there. And this is literally...
getting drunk to stop time isn't the most scientific thing I've heard, but I like that they're weaving real science in that.
I mean, that's... You don't know. You weren't there at the Big Bang. That might have been exactly how it happened.
Amazing.
So this is the guy that we're hunting, basically. His name's Golden Boy, and he's the one who's fired the shot. We don't really know why or what his deal is. So you spend most of the game kind of following his trail, so you're following his footsteps, or you're following clues that lead to him. And this early stage is literally about, like, the initial moments after the Big Bang, so there's a lot of, like, creation of things. And this kind of shows off some of the kind of 3D exploration, so I have a bit more control here. I can actually, like, walk around this space. But you're still ultimately trying to find things and use them in the right place to progress. And we won't get too much further because I don't want to spoil any of the puzzles for people or what the solutions are, but I'll just show you quickly, you know, what the kind of gimmick of this area is. You'll see there's these, like, light fences, and every time you find a place that Golden Boy has been, one of his positions, you unlock some of these seeds, which I will pick up in a second. And what these seeds do is when you plant them, they kind of attract energy of the same colour. So it's quite, like here, for example, there's a white fence that's blocking the way. And if I plant one of these seeds in the ground, it's just going to swallow them up and then kind of unblock paths. So that's the gimmick for this first section. Like I say, each section's got, like, a different gimmick. But yeah, quite a variety of stuff. And it's an interesting little game. It's worth checking out. And I think that's going to do it for us, because I don't want to spoil anything. So I'm going to throw back to the studio.
Yeah, looks good though.
Thanks for joining me, Emma.
That's all right. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
See you later.
And now we are back, and I've unmuted us.
Happy birthday, Adam. That was just for you.
There we go.
So, yes, we are back, and that was Genesis Noir. Adam and Emma checking that out. As Adam mentioned, if you have Game Pass, but it's currently on Game Pass, it's a quick little fun game. So, yeah, if you like to look at that, go check it out. Let us know what you thought of it. And now, me and Dan are going to have a conversation about niche communities in games. So, Dan.
Yes.
Take it away. What's it all about?
So, niche communities in games. This is kind of inspired by the conversation we had last week about me being an old man and aging gamers. And it's something I think about a lot. Obviously, we do a lot of work in and around and research into community management. It's obviously a very significant pillar of the games industry and ties in very closely with a lot of the work that we do. But as of, I believe, in 2020, there globally are 2.7 billion people that play games. So that's a community of people aligned and enjoying games. That's across any device, any platform, mobile, desktop, consoles. 2.7 billion people. It's probably to a point that it's not particularly useful to engage with gamers in that definition. That is basically just saying this is just people. So from a marketing perspective, both for games and for non-endemic, for brands who want to engage with games audiences, like that is a very dated attitude. So, let's engage with gamers. They seem to be on the headlines a lot, and we see it all the time. We see real, I think I've mentioned this before, kind of real low-hanging fruit efforts. Let's stick a pixel font and some bleepy noises and maybe some Mario sound effects, and we are now trying to engage with these 2.7 billion people, and our brand is going to blow up. That is not very useful for anyone, and it doesn't offer much value either. You can't create a space for gamers. So I think there's now infinite scope for us to go narrower. And so 2.7 billion is kind of the top of the funnel that we can address. Let's take the biggest game on the planet, which is Fortnite. So as of May 2020, 350 million people play Fortnite, or have played Fortnite. I think that's activated accounts or something like that. So that's still a very, very large number of people. So, let's target Fortnite players. We've got a similar game, or we've got a product that would appeal to Fortnite players. Again, you're talking to, there's going to be a skewed demographic within that, but there's such a large number crossing so many boundaries of age, geography, platform. Again, it's not perhaps that. Maybe if you're Epic Games, you can address Fortnite players. So I think then you can go deeper still, and this is where it's kind of like, how many levels of abstraction can you take this thinking? And this is where I've been having a lot of thoughts lately. Just following with the Fortnite numbers, as I've got the stats in front of me, you could target people playing Fortnite right this minute. And you would be targeting around about 15 million people. So still huge numbers. And if you're maybe a new title, a new IP from a new studio, you've perhaps not got the reach or the budgets to speak to that volume of people and get in front of that many people. So again, this idea of, let's go deeper again. And how specific can we get? And what that does from a engagement and marketing perspective, each layer that you go down, you're making it more and more viable to get in front of this audience. You could take it to the absolute extreme of people who, like horror games, are based in a specific geographic region, are of a certain age, and also have an affinity with My Little Pony, say. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to find a very, very small or a relatively small number of people. I've no doubt even that, I've just made that up off the top of my head, but I've no doubt there will be people that fall into those categories. And there either will be a community already, or you can provide the place for these people. And we as human beings, we like to be a part of a community. So by providing these spaces or talking to this classification of person, you can provide value for that audience, and greatly increase the chances of getting engagement from them.
I think that's really interesting, because I agree. I always cringe when I see marketing reports and articles where it's like, how to engage with gamers, or how to use gaming to enhance your brand. It's like, that's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. But what you're saying about the going down to level and level and level is important for individual games, not just people who want to engage with necessarily a group of gamers. Like if you've got a title coming out and you need to identify who those different groups are that are going to play your game, just your game, never mind any other games, just your game. You're going to have those subsets of groups, and you're going to want to understand who they are and where they are, as you say, because that's going to dictate how you market to them and how you try and get hold of them. Like sticking with the Fortnite example, as you said, there's so many people playing it, and people are playing it for different reasons, and they're gonna those different reasons are what forms subsets. So when we were talking before, like I think you mentioned about the parents who play Fortnite, like they're going to be playing Fortnite for a very different reason as to why their kids are going to be playing Fortnite. So you don't want to talk to them in the exact same way because they're not going to latch on to the same things. That demographic or that group of people with an interest have a different interest to someone else. So if you don't understand who they are and what their interests are, you're not going to reach them. And I think similarly, when you're trying to attract people to a game, maybe outside of gaming, like we talk about it a lot with the companies that we work with and the companies we want to work with, is that you don't want to just narrow your focus into people who are already playing games. Like there's a lot of people who are playing games, as you've said, which is why you can't just target gamers. But you want to find those niches and those interests that tie in. So, for example, if your game's about action shooting, you don't just go after people who play action shooter games. Look for people who read action books and watch action films and things that fall into similar interests, because that's where you're going to get the hook. That's where your niches are. Like even with action gaming, like that's too big. You can't go after action gaming if you're doing a paid campaign for that and you put in the topic action gaming. I want to target those. It's so huge. You're not going to reach anyone. You're going to have monumental budgets to reach that audience to have any kind of impact. But as you said, if you go a layer deeper, it's like action gamers who are interested in X and interested in X and interested in X. All of a sudden, you could get that down from 1 billion people to, say, 40,000, if that's an extreme example, but you're going to have a much better chance at reaching the 40,000 people and making a significant impact on them and actually hitting them with good messaging, as opposed to trying to hit 15 million people with a message and expecting them all to fall into the same category because they play a similar kind of game. It just doesn't work like that.
Absolutely. And yeah, that understanding, that motivation, what is it that makes this person fall into this category here is so important for considering how you do approach these. And you've touched on a couple of things, like different types of community niche that you can focus on. So I mean, there are endless, and if anybody wants to throw in with their own ideas, please pop it in the chat. But you mentioned sort of dads, parents, so like that is a very, very undercatered for niche. I'm aware there is an account that I got on my radar a while ago was Titanfall Dads, and this was just a community of dads who enjoy playing Titanfall. And I think on Twitter they had, like, I don't know, 2,500 followers or something like that. But again, that's not an insignificant number of people, and it's a very under-addressed sort of group of people that if you gave them some attention, if you offered something of value to them, they're going to feel special, they're going to feel noticed and appreciated, and you will get a much higher engagement. So yeah, parenting, it kind of feeds into life stage. We have our infant school, high school, college, high level education. Then we have early career. We have sort of established career, retirement. All of these key life stages are people, like you said, with different motivations, different availability, different interests. Maybe the people in the height of their career, they're going to be less time rich, and maybe games that have a short, snappy gameplay loop. We, as gets brought up in our roundup almost every week, we've got a lot of people in our team who are really into Rocket League, and that's because you've got a 5-minute game loop, and you can just dip in, you can have a few games, and then you've got to make the dinner, pick the kids up from school, whatever. It fits around that lifestyle. Similarly, age. We've all looked back at things we said when we were younger and cringed. It's because we don't necessarily align with different age groups. And whilst I would very much encourage everybody to embrace people thoughts and opinions from all different ages, sometimes it is nice to be in alignment with people who are at that same kind of life stage as you. So yeah, targeted messaging based around somebody's age. Geography as well. We go on holiday and we're in a country we're not completely comfortable with the language there. We hear a familiar accent or a familiar language being spoken, and we'll latch on to that person. Oh, where are you from? Oh, that's funny. This is communities forming, and again, we can use that, and we can understand that motivation and that comfort, and we can lean into it and offer additional value for that. Obviously, some more common communities that are already present. Games, people align around an existing game, and there are communities there. But again, we've talked about one end of the spectrum, which is Fortnite, but there are also much smaller games that also have their own communities, and those small game brands would also be they'd be approachable for non-endemic brands. So if you want to do a collaboration, there was a recent one where Pringles did a collaboration with Upstream Arcade, who are the developers of, I think it's West 4 Dead. That was an indie game, getting to work with a huge brand. They've got this reciprocal relationship there that's really, really powerful. So yeah, people aligning around game. Adjacent to games, influencers, such content creators, influencers, such a big part of the industry now. They have their own communities. It's almost like their audience don't care what game they're playing because they are part of the PewDiePie community. And again, the PewDiePie is at one end of the scale, but we've got streamers and content creators, YouTubers down to 50, 100, 500 subscribers. You can add a lot of value for that person, whereas you're not going to get your foot in the door to have a conversation with the likes of PewDiePie.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before with streamers, and it's a big thing. It's getting those micro influencers because they've got anywhere between say 1,000 to 10,000 followers, and that's the sweet spot. Like that's where you can really get cut through and reach those people. Like that's not to diminish people who have millions of followers. That's incredible, and if you can get someone who's got millions of followers on side with you, that is obviously a help. But people see the best engagements really with those 1,000 to 10,000 people, as you were saying with the Titanfall dads. Like 2,500 people doesn't sound a lot, but that could be your engagement there could be so high because you have such a niche, and you could focus on exactly what those people are into and understand what they're into and hit them with the right messages. What you said about, sorry, go ahead.
As I say, we talk a lot about the long tail, and yes, you've got you've got the headline numbers at one end of the scale, and then you have the long tail, and actually the cumulative total of the long tail, the volume of smaller streamers or smaller games, these smaller communities. They are infinitely more approachable, more engageable, and you can speak to 10, 1,000 follower people much more easily than you can speak to the 10,000 follower people. So yeah, the long tail for communities is definitely something to bear in mind.
Yeah, community is so important. I'm just trying to pull up a stat that I had before, and I think it was something like 49% of 18 to 34-year-olds will continue to play a game or will pick up a game and play it if they feel part of a community. That's nearly half of a very influential demographic in gaming. Like, obviously, not neglecting anyone older than 34, but 18 to 34 is a huge demographic for gaming. If 50% of those people are going to play your game because they feel part of a community, and that doesn't mean they feel part of the whole community, like the community for the game. If they feel part of a community within that game, even if it's a community within a community, if they're more likely to play the game, that's just such a huge number that you can't ignore that.
Absolutely. We see a lot of, in our kind of paid media and user acquisition campaigns, there's the term uplift, which basically means you run a media campaign and you are essentially paying for ads or whatever. You're putting your product in front of the audience, and you'll get some engagement with that, and you'll get some conversions with that. So you might display 100 ads, and then you'll get 10 conversions. 10 people will buy your product as a result of seeing these ads. Those are what you would refer to as paid for. You've paid for those conversions. But then we also have this kind of mystery metric of uplift. And what we see is by doing that activity, we get those 10 paid for conversions, but also organically there's another 2 conversions that just seem to happen. And that's this idea of community. The people who we've essentially paid for their conversion, their friends have seen their notifications to say, oh, Bob's playing this game, they've taken an interest, or the original conversion has told their friends, oh, I'm playing this game and it's great. You're getting that for free, and this is the community, the network effect happening. So yeah, again, really, really important.
Definitely. Well, Dan, that's been a really great conversation. Unless you've got anything else final to add.
No, I think that about wraps up my thinking on this for this week.
Cool. That's been a really good conversation. I very much enjoyed that. Definitely be thinking more about the different niches that games can hit. So thank you to everyone who joined us for the stream. This will be on our YouTube channel at some point in the next few hours to days, as the bank holiday weekend is upon us. But on there is a whole host of videos with interviews, more of our live shows, us just having fun playing games. So if you like us, want to see more of us, head on over to there. And we're always on Twitter. So let us know what you're up to this bank holiday weekend, what games you're playing. So thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week, as always, at 4 p.m. Until then, have a good week.
Have a good Easter.